Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about chin-ups versus inverted rows and why we might use both, why we might use one versus the other for our middle and upper back development. Now, notice I say middle and upper back, I don't say complete back development because, that comes up a lot. People will say things like, this exercise is the best overall back exercise, and unless it's a row off the floor or something like that, that's just simply not true. Right? Neither one of these exercises work the lower back. They don't work the erectors particularly well, and that's a big part of your back. It's a big part of your back thickness, your strength. And people need to remember this channel is also for strength athletes, other types of athletes. This is not a bodybuilding channel. So we care about performance more than anything else. However, when it comes to back development, you oftentimes find strength athletes who have better backs than you do bodybuilders. But we need to approach our back in the same way that a bodybuilder would approach a lot of body parts, in that we need to be thinking in terms of complete development. Right? Back training is not something that if you want to be truly strong, you can just say, yeah, this one exercise will cover everything. That is simply not going to get it done, unless you're a genetic freak. Now, some people might say, well, a person could just do pull-ups and deadlifts. Well, there are some freaks out there who get away with that, but most of you, that's not going to work. So what we see me doing here are chins and inverted rows, and I like both of these exercises. They both can be very versatile. They have their pros, their cons. They both work the back quite differently. But again, I do these because I do tons of reverse hypers and good mornings. I treat the good morning like a primary exercise. I treat it like a primary exercise. I train the holy hell out of it. My low back gets a ton of work. I do reverse hypers for my low back also as both a serious accessory movement and as a restoration movement on off days. And not even getting into all my deadlifting. So I don't have a lot of low back recovery left, because I would say for a lot of you out there, you need to base build off of pin lay rows off the floor. Okay, I have most of my clients do pin lay rows up to 4 days a week if they're not an advanced lifter yet. That's pretty much the norm for my guys. And it works. This is one of the tools I use to get guys up past a 400 deadlift early on. Right? Because we need all that back development. But at a certain threshold, when you're doing a lot of deadlifting, rows from the floor can really be a recovery problem if you're doing a lot of good mornings and other stuff and you've built a strength base. So we come over to these two movements. So what do they bring to the table, pros and cons? Well, chin-ups obviously are a better lat exercise. Right? Chin-ups and pull-ups in general are very, very difficult to beat for lat development and for bicep development. And it's not to say that we wouldn't want to do curls for biceps also. We can make the argument that curls may improve your chin up. And that's the way that we look at things. And I want people to look at things that way when they're coming here for strength. If your biceps are the weak link in your chin up, you might want to do some curls. You might want to do some heavy cheek curls. Right? You might even mess with some specificity as far as figuring out exactly what curl is going to give you the best carryover to your chin up, so that we get the bicep development that we want to get stronger at chins. But they are a phenomenal bicep builder. And again, I'm not telling anyone, oh, chins are the only thing you ever need for biceps. No, they'll build one hell of a base. But even the guys who want really big biceps, or if you're like me and you're not genetically gifted in the arm department, I'm really not. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. I'm not known for my great arm development. Throwing in some curls is probably not a bad idea. And I do curls after chin-ups. Right? I'm doing them right now because I know I need the bicep. The thing to be aware of with the chin, it can be taxing on connective tissue. Right? And I don't recommend guys do heavy 4s and 5s and stuff. If you're going to go heavy on an exercise, a big multi-joint movement, I recommend that you do singles. Okay? 1 rep. But you guys notice here I'm doing sets of 10. Now I can go a lot heavier. I can go real heavy and do 5s if I wanted to. I'd have no trouble strapping on 100 pounds and doing a single, even at my body weight, being well up over 200. But instead I'm using a weight that's just heavy enough to where I can crank out 10, and 10 is very, very challenging for me. And it's not a heavy weight. Not a very heavy weight at this point. Because 10 reps, we're doing hypertrophy training. And I'm not saying that there's a hypertrophy rep range. It comes down to efficiency. And what we find with chin-ups, we have to be very careful of connective tissue. It's an exercise that will hurt your shoulders. So can pull-ups if you're not careful. Right? If you don't have great shoulder mobility, and I've had to work on mine a lot and build up the musculature to allow it, because I have some imbalances that give me some bad shoulder issues if I'm not careful. Again, due to my own fault for the way I've trained in the past. We have to be aware of those things. And I've been going through correction, but people need to remember muscle balance could take you months or years to fix when you're an advanced lifter. And you have to be diligent with it. So be aware that if you completely lock at the bottom for a lot of reps with a heavy weight, it can be problematic. Okay, it can be problematic for your bicep tendons. It can be problematic for your shoulder joint. Just be aware of your shoulder health, be aware of your connective tissue, and pay attention to it. If any of those things are hurting, like that little acromion process down by your elbow on your forearm starts to hurt, you are gripping the bar wrong. Okay? You are gripping the bar wrong. We do not let our hand come over and to turn it into a wrist curl. That will mess you up. You will eventually pop a bicep off if you're not careful. Right, that's no joke with heavy chins. Be aware of that. Learn how to grip it correctly. If you learn how to grip it correctly, it's going to be harder on your grip. The reason we get that full big overhand grip and we curl it under is because it's hard to grip a lot of weight for reps. But work on your grip training. Work on your grip training. But again, one of the big perks of this exercise, the fact that we can hang weight off of our waist, we put ourselves in traction. I'm big on traction training. Big on traction training. Because I put so much axial loading on myself that it's beneficial, right, from a recovery perspective. But great bicep, great lat exercise, and it's just a good all-around upper body developer because it gets some upper chest, it gets a long head of your triceps. Chins is just a good way to get thick. Now, when it comes to other performance, let's come over and let's talk about the inverted row. What do I do with mine? This is a wide grip, and I use the axle bar. Why? I use the axle bar because this is part of my grip training. I do any rowing I do with the axle bar. Now, good luck doing that with chin-ups. You're going to need one hell of a grip to do a thick bar for chins. Okay? And I deadlift over 600 pounds without any grip issues. And I don't know if I'd want to try chins with a 2-inch bar. So, with the inverted row, what are we getting? We're getting a lot more upper back. Okay? We could argue that the inverted row isn't as good for the lats as the chin-up. Right? It may not build as much lat. What it will build is more trap. It'll build more rear delt. How about some infraspinous, an important rotator? Rhomboids. It will hit all those things better. That whole upper part of the back is going to be hit a lot better with the inverted row. And particularly when we go to that wide grip and we pull the upper chest. Okay? And that's important. That wide grip is really important. It's really important for things like the rear delt, because that would get neglected. Your upper back doesn't get worked that well. That's one reason I tell guys, if chin-ups are the only upper back exercise you are doing, you're not going to be strong. You're going to be strong at chin-ups, and you'll have strong lats, and you'll have strong biceps. Your upper back is going to be lagging, and that's going to affect your squat, bench, your deadlift, your overhead press, everything. So if you're going to be messing with chins, and we're not doing rowing from the floor because of low back fatigue, that inverted row starts to become very, very valuable. It's also easier on recovery. The inverted row will not beat your shoulders up and your bicep tendons up and stuff as much as the chin-up will. Okay? It's a little easier on recovery in my personal experience, and I have to pay attention to those things. A lot of younger guys say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, because you're 22. I'm 43, guys. 43, trying to get my deadlift up to 650, trying to get my squat to 600, trying to get my bench close to 400, up in my 40s. Okay? Trust me, it matters. It matters a lot as you start to get a little bit older. Your connective tissue becomes critical. Joint health becomes critical. You got to pay attention to those things. We have to stay healthy. But what I would say to guys is that combination. And the beauty of, again, the inverted row, you can use whatever bar you want pretty easily. And because the different bars don't affect your shoulders negatively, you can use different bars. In my case, I prefer the axle bar. Or if you have some fat grips, I would use that. It's a great grip training tool because it's not as hard on your grip and the ability to hang on to some of these other movements because you're using a little less weight. And it really, really allows you to hammer your grip. But I would say this combination is what you're going to need for complete middle and upper back development. You're going to want to do both of these. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.